Breaking free from emotional autopilot. Have you ever promised yourself that you wouldn't yell, and then you find yourself yelling again just an hour later? Or have you sworn that you'd be more patient tomorrow, only to wake up and repeat the same emotional patterns? I've been there, done that. I understand it. And I don't want you to beat yourself up about this. I didn't even know about emotional autopilot until my 60s. But your brain is actually programmed to run on autopilot. But today, I'm giving you the override code. I'm Debbie Page, and in just 7 minutes, I'm going to teach you how to retrain your brain so that these typical emotional responses don't keep happening hour after hour and day after day. It's simple. It's a simple technique, and you can break free from this emotional autopilot, these emotional patterns. The emotional autopilot. This whole concept, as I said, is new to me. And in our first 2 episodes, we talked about your emotional home. And then we talked about breaking free of the trap of achievement versus fulfillment. Today, we're tackling why changing these patterns, these emotional patterns, can feel so difficult. It's like pulling weeds. It's actually like pulling trees out, because your brain is designed for efficiency. It creates automatic pathways for everything, and that includes your emotions. So, when I say emotions, I'm also talking about your emotional responses. So think about driving home. You can pretty much do it without even thinking, because you know exactly what the route is, and it's just become automatic to you. And the same thing happens with your emotions. When your toddler spills juice for the 3rd time, or your brain, then your brain just has this pre-programmed response. Frustration rises, your jaw tightens, you get tense in your chest, and sharp words come out before you even realize what's happening. This is your emotional autopilot. And it was created through repetition. Each time you had that response, that neural pathway in your brain got stronger until it became your brain's default. But here's the good news, and it is good news. What's been programmed can be reprogrammed, and it's very simple. It takes time, it takes deliberation, but it can be done. So let me give you an example of myself. My oldest son, who's, he's in his 40s now. He estranged himself from me about 4 years ago. I do not know why. He's still in touch with his siblings, but I don't know why he estranged himself from me. But there's a part of me that every time I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking of him, I want to be sad. And I have learned how to interrupt that pattern and tell myself, nope, I'm not going to be sad. I'm going to be so glad for him and rejoice over his precious life. And when he's ready, he'll come back into my life. And that's the same thing that we can do with any type of emotional response. When you start to have that emotional response, this is a great thing to do. Just go interrupt, interrupt, interrupt. Change it, change it, change it. However, whatever word works for you. You know, I say to myself, interrupt, interrupt, interrupt. I love this child dearly. I can't wait for him to come back into my life. And this pattern interruption, it doesn't deny the reality of my situation, which could be very sad because I do miss him, but it keeps me from being trapped in an emotional cycle that then ends up draining my joy and my hope. And it's transformed how I handle this very painful situation by giving me power to choose my response rather than being controlled by automatic emotions. So the reticular activation system, or the RAS, part of our brain, is designed to seek out what you're thinking about. So if I'm always thinking about being sad about my son being estranged from me, then I'll find so many other things to be sad about, because my RSS is just literally seeking it out, because the RAS loves patterns. And it identifies these patterns as being something that's important to me because I'm spending time thinking about it. But if we change that so that the emotions that we're having go from frustration, say with the child who spills his milk again, or in my case, to sadness over a son who has estranged himself, if I change that to being glad. And this is not just positive thinking, because it literally is changing what I am thinking about the situation and changing these emotional patterns. It's not about willpower, but it's about interrupting the automatic circuit that's already formed in your brain. And by interrupting it, we can do that before it completes the circuit. Does that all make sense? I hope it doesn't. I hope it does. And if it doesn't, just reach out to me down below and let me know that you need some more help understanding this. We could always talk about it more too. But notice the trigger and what situation consistently activates that emotional autopilot. Is it a messy room, a whining child? Is it being interrupted? It may be all those things. But identify the first physical sensation that appears when you notice that emotion. Is it tightness in your chest? Your jaw might get tight. You may have shallow breathing. And when you feel that sensation beginning, immediately say to yourself, interrupt, interrupt, interrupt. Changing this, I choose differently, Whatever you want to say, come up with whatever. I haven't heard anybody else say exactly what I say, but that works for me. And then I say, I know, oh God, that you are with me this very moment. And this creates a tiny gap between the trigger and the response, just enough space to choose rather than react automatically. So what makes this so powerful? And listen up, is that you're interrupting the pattern at the very beginning before the emotional floods takes over, before that circuit completes. With practice, you'll find yourself catching this pattern earlier and earlier, and before you know it, it's not going to happen very often at all. And there is a spiritual connection. This pattern interruption has a beautiful spiritual dimension to it, because scripture tells us to take every thought captive. When I started to really meditate on that one verse, it made a big difference with what I was doing with my thoughts and my emotions. So by taking the thoughts captive, we're grabbing hold of those emotions before they take hold of us. And again, creating this tiny gap between the trigger and the response is making space for God himself to guide our reactions instead of letting autopilot run the show. And in that 3-second pause, it may take less than that. After saying interrupt, 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 God can transform your frustration into patience, your anxiety into peace, and your overwhelm into calm. So what are we going to do? We're going to practice this pattern interruption. And it's a very simple thing. Again, it can take you about 3 seconds. It doesn't take very long. But I want you to start practicing that every day. When you totally mess up and you scream, you yell, or pitch or fit yourself or whatever, don't beat yourself down. Just deep breath. Interrupt, interrupt, interrupt. I can change this. I can change this. I can change this. And yes, you can change this. And if you enjoyed this video, click the subscribe button down below and just become a part of this community and share it with other moms who might also need to know about this incredible pattern interrupt. So, as always, I want you to know that I see you, I hear you, and I want you to celebrate your mama moments.